how you like it, yeah.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the We Don't Know TV podcast. My name is Leaf. I am your host. As you can see, I'm trying a different setup, so if I am looking everywhere, it's because I'm trying to get used to, where everything's at. I mean, I got the notes right here, I got the computer over here, so it's a little bit of a work in progress. Camera's right here, and though, you look at yourself right here, it's a whole thing. Anyways, if it's the first time here, I watched the first episode of a show, and then I talk about it. I don't even think I did the intro right, but that's basically what I do here. And today we're talking about Creature Commandos, which is the first in the DCU new universe made by James Gunn. The premise on IMDb states, follows a group of military superhumans composed by a human leader, a werewolf, a vampire, Frankenstein's monster, and a Gorgon. That is wrong. That is the premise to the comic book. So someone half-assed their homework. The first part's kind of right, that it is essentially a group of these supernatural looking creatures that kind of go out on a mission. But we will get into that in the kind of summary of the episode, or the beats of the episode, because if it's your first time here, I go through the plot beat by beat. That way you don't have to, and that way I don't forget anything. So we start off at Belle Rev, which you might remember from Suicide Squad and The Suicide Squad, and we see Amanda Waller and Rick Flag Sr. Like the animation. I mean, I know, granted, it just started. I like the animation, but the one thing about Rick Flag Sr. is that with his orange coat or shirt that he has on, he just looks like Aquaman. And it's like, guys, we could have picked any other color, you know what I mean? And it would have not been as distracting. But they are watching TV. There is a news broadcast basically saying that the sons of the Mascara are attacking Pollockstan. And they are being led by Cersei. Cersei is a sorceress, and she claims to be the rightful heir to the island of Themyscira. The news anchor says, perhaps mythical, perhaps real island of Themyscira, but then shows a photo of the Amazonians. So it's already unclear of how much do people believe, but I feel like if this is a world where, Superman and people exist, is why would a magical island be too far? I never understand when fiction stuff does that, when there's all of this other shit and it's but aliens is too much. It's what are we talking about here? I digress. So we see the army that she's amassed, the Sons of Themyscira, and they're given redneck energy, even though there's a mixture of people in there. And essentially they're why do women get island to themselves? Why do women get their own waterfall? And it's all right, the joke hit for me. But Rick Flag Sr. is yo, there's a bunch of clowns. But Amanda Waller's nah, they're dangerous clowns. Pollockstan is friends with the U.S., and more importantly, they have petroleum deposits that they have not tapped into. And U.S. loves to take natural resources. So they're we're still in negotiations to get that oil. So we need to go save that country so that we can get that petroleum. And America, USA, #1. Cue the screech. And Amanda Waller, still played by Viola Davis, still crushes it. She has that almost robotic, the mission is the mission. She's not even human, but she has that commanding voice, and she knows she's in charge, and it's awesome. I hope they continue to keep her throughout all the projects. But anyways, we go down to the basement or whatever, and this is where we see the non-human internment division. Congress has apparently put a stop to Task Force X, formerly known as the Suicide Squad.
What, we some kind of Suicide Squad?
It turns out that Amanda Waller's daughter has outed her, which means that this show is connected to Peacemaker? Yeah. It's connected to Peacemaker, and technically connected to the Suicide Squad, which is connected to the Suicide Squad, which technically means that Batfleck and Jared Leto's Joker are canon, ? This is where things are all what are we really talking about here? But anyways, where were we? So Because technically Argus can't use incarcerated humans, it doesn't count if the people aren't human. That's what we call a loophole, kids. It turns out that this place has been running for about 50 years, and only people of the highest clearance even know of its existence. And this is where we essentially meet the team. We see the bride, we have Dr. Phosphorus, we got Weasel from the Suicide Squad. He survived. We got G.I. Robot and Nina Mazursky. We got Nina. Basically looks like a creature from the Black Lagoon. And as we see this team, the two that kind of stand out for me are G.I. Robot and Dr. Phosphorus. I know that G.I. Robot is from, like, he eventually joined the team in the comics, but as I read in the summary, like, the original team was, like, also a vampire and a werewolf, which, I mean, Weasel kind of fits, so it's whatever. And then a Gorgon, which is basically Medusa type. So I kind of wish the team was just like a little more like, supernatural monsters. But it was just a small gripe for me, nothing too major. I just figured I'd bring it up because I wanted to. So yeah, the Suicide Squad is canon. Of course, because the Suicide Squad is canon, that means that Rick Flag Jr. has passed away. And as Amanda Waller's kind of like giving her the lowdown, it turns out that Nina, the Black Lagoon looking girl, is not only the smartest, but she's the most level-headed. So she's like, maybe use her because she will be the one to keep everyone else in line. So the doors open, and three of them are already off the bat. Let's go straight for the throat. You know what I mean? They are ready to kill and get themselves out of here. But Amanda Waller presses that button, and everyone gets shocked. It's just like, oh, that's kind of rough because G.I. and Nina were just kind of like existing, and now they're like shocked. Really hard. So it's kind of very much like, hey, if one of you messes up, you all get fucked over for this. This kind of sucks. But yeah, apparently this is Task Force M. The M stands for monster, otherwise known as, cue the intro. This is where we get the intro for the show, and I really like it's the words scrolling on, the background as the characters kind of like do their move into frame, and it's like, this person playing, this character, and this person playing this person. If it's on YouTube, it'll be playing, so you know what I'm talking about. But it gave me Cowboy Bebop vibes. So I was like, all right, I like this. James Gunn knows what he's doing. And in the intro, you see Frankenstein. But again, Frankenstein wasn't a part of the team. He's not in the prison with the rest of them. So it's like, okay, well, how does he fit into the story? It's kind of interesting that you would put, a character ahead. But it's kind of nice. It was like, oh, all right, cool, mystery. And the first episode is called The Cobby Wobbles. Now, the team heads out on a helicopter, essentially. This is where we kind of get to meet them a little bit. Dr. Phosphorus is being sarcastic, and of course, because he's like a skeleton, a burning skeleton. He kind of looks like Ghost Rider, but if he was like green flames instead. He like makes a joke, and they're like, are you smiling sarcastically? Like, I can't tell, you're just a skull. And he's like, yes. It's like, all right, cool. Weasel is freaking out. Flag brings up the fact of like the movie of like shit went wrong last time. So naturally he's freaking out about everything. And we get this small joke of G.I. Robot. It's like, maybe he's freaking out because he's a Nazi. And Flag's like, whoa, chill out, man. He's like, it ain't that deep. The bride's like, hey, are we in Pollokstan? Because they weren't briefed on the mission. And Nina's like, wait, have you been here before? So I was like, okay. But this is where they are met by the guards. Music starts playing, and they head out on a convoy. As they pass through some of the city streets, we get a car with some of the Sons of the Mascara in it, and they radio probably Xerxes to be like, hey, the country has brought in some military help, so, watch out for that. We have the small moment of Nina waving at a kid, and the kid waves back, but naturally her parent sees a monster and grabs the kid and, like, pulls him away, and Nina looks really sad, and it's like, oh, it's sad, she's just trying to be nice, but she's different, so naturally humans feel some type of way about that. So they head into the castle, and you see the family paintings, and everyone in the paintings looks very odd. They have like these like super long like oblong heads, and they like just these really weird faces, and it's basically implied of like some ancestry going on in the bloodline, probably to like keep it pure. But this is where we get the joke of, no, not the newest princess. She looks like a model. And Rick is like, oh, it's nice to meet you, Alana. He bows, and main bodyguard's like, yo, that's not, we don't do that here. You can't do that here. In fact, that's very like offensive. And he's like, you know what? Kill this man. And they all surround him. And it's really cool because they look like regular knights, but then you have like these like arm cannons that like come out. So they're like a little high tech, even though they're like old tech at the same time. It's like, all right, cool, really cool. And they're like, no. And he's like, we got you. This is all just a prank. And then he starts making like old jokes, like, what's that? You know what I mean? From like, I don't even know what year that joke was from. But basically, they're like, oh yeah, you're so up to date on American references. And they're like, yeah, we are. We love America. Like, it's great. So that joke worked for me. We cut to the team having dinner. And of course, half of them don't have any table manners. But also, they've been in prison for forever, so naturally getting like regular food, they're like, oh my god, I gotta eat some stuff, which Flag brings up to Alana, the princess, and she's like, whatever, like it really doesn't bother me. The two of them, as they talk, are kind of being a little flirty, and it's like, it feels like there's like a 30-year difference between you guys. Like, I don't know how I feel about this. But the camera like slowly pans over and you see that the queen is at the other end of the table and she basically looks like a mummy. Like, she's not even alive anymore. Like, put that woman out of her misery. She's like drooling and like can't even speak. And basically Alana's like, yeah, as you can see, my mother isn't in the best of states. So I'm kind of taking over until, the eventual happens. And and then I will be fully in charge. But she says it so casually that it didn't feel like someone who's like coming to terms with something that's obviously been going on for a while. It was just kind of like, yeah, almost like your family dog that you haven't really met. It's just kind of like, yeah, she's gonna die like sooner or later. It's like, it was really weird. So I'm kind of wondering if that was like low key setting up something, or if it was just playing up for a joke or whatever. It wasn't really clear, but I was like, okay. But everyone goes outside. They're still chilling, hanging out. This is where we see Weasel playing fetch like a dog, and it's like, how much, like what brain level is he at up there? GI is talking with Nina on the balcony, and he's like, man, I just really want to kill some Nazis. It's been forever since I killed some Nazis. Would you like to kill some Nazis with me? And she's like, you know what? There's no one else I'd rather kill Nazis with. And he's like, oh my god, finally a friend to go kill Nazis with. It's been 74 years, 23 days, and 52 minutes. And it's like, oh man, good thing he doesn't really have consciousness, because there's just like, I feel like, just lose your mind being like, I've been alive for this long and I've only wanted to do this one thing and I can't do this one thing. But luckily he's a robot, so he doesn't have that, or doesn't seem to have that problem. We see Alana and Flag talking more, and again, they're still a little flirty. And this is where Flag tells her about Weasel, because she's like, what's up with that guy? And he's like, oh, he's killed like 27 kids, but he hasn't done anything since, so I guess he's kind of chill. And I was like, what? And he's like, don't bring your kids choir to the castle. And I was like, you're being way too casual about the fact that this man killed a classroom full of kids. Like, that joke didn't work for me. She's saying like, oh, I love to meet Americans. I love America, rock and roll. And as they're kind of like talking, you can see in the background that the bride is like drinking heavily with some of the guards, and Dr. Phosphorus is like breaking it down and like dancing with them on the side. So I thought that was really cool. I was like, it makes the scene feel more lived in than just kind of like having the two talk. It's like, oh, they're talking, but everyone's just still like doing their own thing as the day goes on. Ilana brings up this interesting thing. She's like, hey, I know my country is backwards. I really want to lead my country into the 21st century, which is why, I'm really hoping that this deal and everything goes through with America. So I'm glad you guys are here. This is like really, I'm fulfilling my dream by letting this continue. And as they're talking, she brings up like, hey, are you married? And he's like, no, I used to be, but, it didn't work out. I used to have a son. I was in the military so I could, like, support the family. And then he went to the military, and then he didn't make it. Because, again, he died in the Suicide Squad. And apparently he died 2 years ago. So this is taking place 2 years after the movie. So as they continue to have their conversation, he's like, I really feel like you would have liked my son. You two would have got along like a house fire. And she's like, isn't a house fire like a really bad thing? And he's like, well, the saying is a good thing, but a house fire is a bad thing. And she's like, you know what? I actually prefer old men. how about I come show you something really cool? And so they go to her room, and she's like, I have this grimoire. It's like 500 years old. And he's like, you brought me here to show me your grimoire? Like, I don't really... and... Or is it armoire? Armoire? That makes more sense. Grimoire is a book, I believe. And she gets naked. And he's like, whoa, like, I am older than you. I'm supposed to be protecting you. This is just, like, really unethical. And, we really shouldn't do this. And she pushes him on the bed, and she's like, oh, I'd rather have, like, an older American man who's, like, experienced the world, who, like, can see me for, like, a real person and not just the fact that I'm, royalty. And he's like, I can't do this. And he, like, pushes her off. And he's like, I'm going to have G.I. Robot guard the door, like, have a good night. And he leaves. So we kind of transition into nighttime. And we see him scrolling on his phone. And this is a small thing, but I was like, oh, I kind of wanted to know, like, what he keeps his mind on. Like, is he on Twitter? Is he on Instagram? Is he on TikTok? You know what I mean? Is he on Tinder? You know what I mean? That make him feel some type of way. I feel like that could have added, like, a small little thing to the character, but it's a small thing. And we see G.I. Robot, and he's outside the door, and he's just listing off battles that he's been in and how many Nazis he's killed, as Weasel is, like, laying next to him full asleep. So I'm like, does he think he's talking to Weasel? Because I don't know what he's just rattling on. Also, if that were me and you were my guard, unless the room is, like, super big or whatever, I'd have to open the door and be like, dude, you have to shut up. Like, I can't have you just talking all night. I will never go to sleep. But we go to Nina and Bride, who are apparently sharing a room, and Nina, like, slips fully into the bath because, again, she's like a fish lady, and I guess that's how she sleeps. We don't see it. She's just kind of, like, laying down. But as that is happening, the Bride hops out the window, and of course Nina's like, wait, where are you going? And we see the Bride, and she's like, I don't know why I was looking at the mic. She's, like, hopping down and, like, flipping and stuff. And she gets to the bottom, and then Nina walks out, and she's like, how did you get down here? She's like, I just took the steps. She's like, then stop you? Like, no, we're here to, like, protect them. Why would they stop me? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But my one issue with this joke is that you can see how tall the building is, and I was like, there's no way that even if she walked, she would have got down the steps. She would have had to ran or, like, do the thing where you, like, slide down the rail, you know what I mean, all the way to the bottom in order to make it on time. But that's just the way my brain works. So, but anyways, people are always doing stuff when I'm recording. I swear the house is super quiet, and then I record, and then people start doing stuff. Anyways, so Bride starts to head out, and Nina's like, if you get caught, we all get shocked, which isn't fair because honestly, I don't even do anything, and it hurts really bad. And the Bride really doesn't give a fuck. She walks to the guard, like, near the street or whatever, and she's like, open the door, and he's like, no, and she's like, open the door, and he's like, okay, and she's like, give me all your money, and he's like, but I don't want, and he's like, give me all your money, and she takes all of his money, hails a taxi, is about to head out, and Nina's like, you shouldn't leave, and she's like, you don't have to be here. But they both get in the taxi, and she, like, says an address in the local language, and the taxi man drives off. So while this is happening, we see Dr. Phosphorus in Flag's room, and he is trying to steal the device, kind of like the phone that shocks all of them. And of course, Rick Flag isn't about it. So the two of them start fighting, and this fight is actually really good for what it is. Again, the animation style is working, and it's really cool. And I think the added thing that makes this fight stand out is the fact that because Dr. Phosphorus is radioactive, Flag can't touch him. So there's times where he's just, like, grabbing Flag's hand, or, like, putting his hand to his face or whatever, and he's, like, burning him. So he has to, like, find some creative ways to, like, fight back. And there's a moment where he puts his hand in a oven glove, which I don't know if it would be enough for the radiation, but it's enough for him to, like, grab him by the head and just, like, start slamming his head against the kitchen counter because they, like, fall through the floor. It's a whole thing. But what's funny is Flag eventually gets the device, and it looks like he's about to press the button, and Phosphorus is like, no, please no. Like, he's actually scared. And it's like, oh, so like that shock is enough for him to be like, please, okay, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Like, you know, he is like begging. But Flag does an interesting thing of like being this good guy, and he's like, you idiot, you have to know that there's more than one device. Like, Amanda Waller wouldn't be so stupid as to just have the one and give it to me and then send me out with you guys. Even if you did break this, right, and you got free, you'd never really be free. Like, she'd hunt you down. And he's like, we're on the same damn team. Like, lock in, bro. So it was kind of nice that, you know, he could have just shocked him, or, you know, shocked him a couple times if he was a worse man. But he was just kind of like trying to reason with him and be like, hey, man, like, we're all in the same boat. Like, chill out. I get it. I don't want to have to press the button. I really don't. But the episode ends with the taxi pulling up to a mansion. And then, you know, Nina's like, where are we? And the bride's like, this is where I was born. And we see a small moment of her kind of being shocked to life. And across the street, there's a small house. It's like shack type thing. And there's this old lady there. And she hits up Frankenstein, who's on a yacht. Like he's in a music video or like a Kingpin or whatever. And the lady's like, yo, someone showed up to the house. It's that lady. And he's like, my bride, finally, I found you again. And he's like crying. And that's where the episode ends. That's it. So, if it is your first time here, I have a 3-point rating scale. It's one and done. Give it a chance, and I'm in. For this one, I would have to give it a chance. I love the animation style, but the one thing I really love about James Gunn when it comes to Guardians and the Suicide Squad is like the music hits and the jokes hit. And the music, well, because they're in a foreign country, they're like trying to do like music that kind of fits with the theme of what they're doing, but it wasn't like hitting in the same way that the other projects do. So I was like, oh, okay. But mainly it was the jokes. I don't know what it is because I've watched all 3 episodes that are out so far as of me recording this, and there's something about the humor that just isn't hitting, and I don't know if it is simply because like the way you write for animation is different from live action, but it's just not like a lot of the jokes just aren't working for me. And I'm like, all right, well, like, you're known for being funny and like you're not being funny. So you know what I mean? It's like when you have a comedian and you watch one of their stand-ups and you're like, oh, this one isn't hitting for some reason. Like that's happening with this. Also with the team itself, even after watching the first 3 episodes, I'm like, I don't really care for you guys. You know what I mean? And James Gunn loves to pick, you know, like I don't even know what level you want to put them at, the F tier characters. So it's like I really came in not caring, and I really don't care that much, especially for still just talking about this first episode. So I'm like, all right, like I love superheroes. I like James Gunn. Animation's great. The fight scene was cool. Some of the jokes made me go like, huh, okay, yeah. So again, it's enough to give me a pull to watch another one, but I'm not like, yo, I gotta watch another one. And it's not so uninteresting that I'm like, whatever. So yeah, at the end, I would give this one give it a chance. In terms of like something fell over. In terms of the following 2 episodes, no like future spoilers, but there is some times where, especially in like the second episode, which I think is the best one so far, where you have this like serious moment going on, and then it's hit with a joke at like the end of it, and then it kind of goes back to serious at the end. So, and in that moment, I was like, I kind of wish you didn't try to put a joke in here, because like the emotional part was hitting, and then I felt like you thought that you needed to put a joke to like lighten the mood, but I didn't want you to lighten the mood. So I was like, you kind of detracted from your own thing that you were doing. And in the third one, this major thing happens, and when it happens, I was clearly wanted me to feel again some type of way, but again, I don't care enough about these characters, even 3 episodes in, for making me feel that type of way, that I was like, okay. And Also, this show is very violent, like Invincible or whatever. So like you'll see people like head exploding and like bullet holes through their brain and all that shit like that. And which is fine by me. But the reason I bring it up is like, especially in the third episode, I felt like they wanted me to feel like, again, a dramatic moment, but I wasn't feeling the emotional part of it because I was more focused on the fact of like, yo, people are literally exploding. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not feeling the emotion. I'm too focused on the fact that like how graphic it is. So yeah, this show isn't really hitting for me. I think I might give it another one and, you know, episode forward, see how I feel. But like, honestly, if I walked away now, I wouldn't feel like, oh my god, I missed out on this show. So as a first start to the DCU, I'm not too you know, like, oh my god, we're starting off on a great foot. We'll see how Superman goes, but that's a conversation for another time. So I'm gonna leave it here at this. If you have a show that you want me to watch, let me know in the comments down below. If you're listening on podcast services, give this a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.